Howdy team. I'm laughing because I just turned my camera on and I just noticed that my shirt matches the ceiling in here in the loft. Um, I did good. Hopefully you can see me okay. It's nice little weird camouflage. Um, I'm happy to be up here in the loft because it's just good to be back in this space. We got to have our first midweek worship up here last night, and it went really, really well. I lost a bet to Jeff. Jeff bet that at least a few students would move their chairs. Sure enough, about three of them did. But otherwise, the kids really followed directions. They did great, and we had an awesome time together. And so, for starters, let me say I hope that you can come hang out with us maybe sometime on a Wednesday night this summer. Um, and then also, I'm excited about y'all having the opportunity to meet with students too. And so I really do hope you'll take advantage of the opportunity. We have the ability now to meet in person. We can't meet in small groups in the building. And I know that's a weird distinction just because of what I'm doing up here. I'm just trying to follow rules as best as I can. But we got all sorts of space outside. There's other locations. If you can have students in your home, do that. But find ways to meet in person, y'all. It's so good. It's fun. It's encouraging. It'll do your heart some good as well, I promise. And then don't hesitate to combine. And I trust you how you want to combine. I really do. Don't necessarily want juniors and seventh graders together. Although I know we've done that kind of thing in the past. But at least initially, right now, let's find some ways to combine. That'll give you an extra teaching partner, and that'll encourage the kids to have some others around too. So anyway, let's dive in. I want to look at Mark chapter 2. That's where we are today for the Gospels Challenge. It's so good. We looked at chapter 1 last night and the idea of how Jesus called some of his disciples. This one has another specific example of how Jesus called specifically Matthew. I want to look at verses 13 through 17. I know there's not a lot there, but I think there's actually a whole bunch there that's worth talking about with students. Matthew was a tax collector. You all probably know that. This spells this out very clearly. He was a tax collector, which means he would have been despised by pretty much everyone. I don't know what kind of relationship you have with your tax collector. I've been doing my own taxes for a while. Sadly, the guy that used to do our taxes died years ago. We had a pretty good relationship with him, but I also have never made a ton of money, and so it was still kind of painful, but not just the worst thing ever. But by and large, people don't like paying taxes, and by default, they generally don't like the guy they're having to pay taxes to. Never mind having to pay that person to take our taxes from us. Well, that was true back in Israel's day as well, except the difference was is the tax collector got to decide how much he wanted to take for himself, and there was no regulation on that whatsoever. As long as he took for Rome what Rome deserved, he got to decide everything else, and no one could fight him on this. Well, here's the other thing. It tells us specifically that Matthew's tax booth was along the shore of the Sea of Galilee. Now, here's why that's important. Peter, Andrew, James, and John, at least Nathaniel, and potentially some others, were all fishermen who were fishing in the Sea of Galilee. Tax collectors collected taxes more than just once a year. It was frequent. In fact, chances are really good this particular booth was along the shore because they would have taxed the fishermen every single day. When they came in along the shoreline, when they sold their fish, they were immediately taxed. May have been once a week, but you get the idea. It was frequent. The point is those guys would have known Matthew, and chances are really good they wouldn't have liked him. They were already following Jesus, and then Jesus has the nerve to say, "Hey, Matthew, why don't you come join our team?" And then he does. Can you imagine? Can you imagine that dynamic? All of a sudden, someone that everyone else would have despised, Jesus says, "Yeah, come join my team." Never mind later on when Jesus had Simon the Zealot. A zealot was someone who is actively fighting, literally fighting for the dismantlement of Rome. And Jesus put all these people together on one team and said, "I'm going to use you guys to change the world." And that's exactly what happened. I bring this up just to say this. Oh, and then another verse. Don't forget verse 15. Verse 15 is so good, and I love how Matthew responds. Not only does Jesus change his life immediately, but Matthew is unwilling to leave the other people he's been working with behind. Jesus calls him to a new team, and he says, "Okay, that's fine, but hey, can I invite my friends too?" Now, his friends were a bunch of other disreputable sinners. In fact, that's what it says specifically in verse 15. I love this so much. It says, there were many of this kind of people who were amongst Jesus' followers. The verse above it says tax collectors and other disreputable sinners. This was the team that Jesus was building. a bunch of ragamuffins, and he used them to change the world. He stuck them all together and said, hey, I want you to love me, I want you to follow me, and then I want you to love each other. In fact, he told them frequently to love each other. When you understand the dynamics of who each other were, it makes sense why Jesus would keep saying, love each other, love each other, love each other, because their natural bent, their natural inclination was not to love each other. And we're in the same boat. We serve a bunch of teenagers that come from different schools and different towns, and they've got different cultural backgrounds and values at home, and they just don't always like each other, always get along. And Jesus is calling us not only to love them, but to teach them to love each other. And in some cases to look not past. He wants us to look past their sins and the fact that he wants us to see what he's doing in their lives, not to ignore them, but help them to grow for them. We are the bunch of disreputable sinners. So rejoice in that, keep working in that, and let's help our students see the joy in the team that God's building here at the lake. Guys, I love y'all, and I'll see you soon.